Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for the second matchup for tonight. We've got number 3, Grand Canyon Esports, the Ottawa Reapers, and Texas State Esports, number 12 in our rankings. I'm your host, OG Sato, joined by my co-caster, Mick. We're going to be bringing you the rest of the action tonight, so expect us for that third matchup as well. Mick, how you feeling after that game one?
I'm feeling a little bit conflicted, to say the least. I kind of expected a little bit more out of KSU, quite honestly. But, I mean, overall, you still get what you get. And, honestly, the Niners doing what they've done best over the course of the season. Stepping things up when it matters most to really get themselves in that stage to say, look, we got ourselves another win this week. So, discussing more about this one. Because, I mean, I know, obviously, the last one was great and all. But I'm expecting this one to be much better because we have ourselves, I would say, a titan within our grasp, at least in this matchup thus far.
Yeah, let's talk about these Titans. Let's get into the head-to-head because these teams are both ranked here, and they've got some interesting, stat lines. Why don't you break it down for us, Mick?
Well, on the head-to-head, I'm going to start with GCU, obviously, because they're just undefeated right now, sitting at 15-0 for the season. Hardpoint sitting at 19-2. Search and Destroy, only one map loss in the entirety of this season. And then in Control, sitting at 9-1 for that as well. I mean, that's just... do I even talk about this? Like, is there anything to say besides, like, it's just beautiful? It's beautiful. It's one of the best stat lines you can get. Obviously, they're only 4 maps shy from having a flawless record. I mean, over the course of 15 games. But Texas State sitting at 13-2. Hardpoint sitting at 17-4. Search and Destroy 11-3. And then their Control is going to be 8-1. So Control is looking pretty even, I would say, across the board. But Search and Destroy and Hardpoint, I think GCU definitely had themselves a little bit more of an advantage to be working with.
Yeah, they definitely do. And they're a much more formidable team in our rankings here at number 3. And, well, let's talk about the home team over on the side of GCU because these players, they've been showing us what they've got all season long. We've got Jam Season, Selvis, Klo, and Kenji. Quite an interesting select roster, huh?
Yeah, absolutely disgusting is every single one of these guys. I mean, everybody, it's one of these teams, once you get to this kind of, I would say, case, when it comes around to these teams that are this high up, you can't really just point out specific members. Everybody slays out. Everybody does their job. Nobody can really slay out to such an extent where you can say, all right, I can carry my team to an undefeated record. Everybody has to sit there and put in their equal effort. And quite honestly, that's exactly what Grand Canyon really just epitomizes. They sit there and say, look, we are the golden standard when it comes around to doing this. We're top 3 right now. So, I mean, even then, just over the course of the season, we have at least a bronze medal in that respect. And the only thing stopping us is just a couple map counts. But enough about them. We got to sit there and look at who they're going to be opposing against, at least in their respect to old Texas State, who's going to have that roster stacking up with the likes of Tactics, Scripps, Draco, and Pandemic. And I've had the courtesy of being able to cast over this team for, I'd say, the past couple of years in my time at CCL. And every single time, I'll say, whether or not win or lost, they're still very interesting to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I've personally been able to see Tactic and Draco on LAN, and also within just, their day-to-day operations that they do when they play. And yeah, Tactic and Draco are definitely some interesting players that I'm going to be watching out for, especially Draco. I've known he's a pretty good slayer on the map, especially when it comes to S&D. A little bit more methodical when it comes to his teammates. But hey, overall, I'm excited to see this roster, see if they can take down our number 3.
Yeah, I mean, just an outstanding lineup here tonight in terms of both these squads. And, I mean, we really can't just reinforce it enough. But, I mean, to talk about the records, talk about what these two have to provide, obviously you got to sit there and discuss, like, how well that GCU's really going to have prepared themselves over the course of the season. I mean, one thing, you mentioned it, kind of preluded to it earlier, sitting there talking about the Ottawa Reapers. We got to sit there and say that this is the one team to beat Ottawa. And that alone is the one kind of golden thing that we can hold them to. Put them on a pedestal and say that they could be possible the next kings of the league, knowing that Ottawa has been those kings for the longest time and gotten knocked out their throne, at least for the week in the meantime. So that's a huge respect point for them. And knowing that, I mean, going down to this next week, they are in a running for something else, saying we are still undefeated. We knocked down the Kings, and we are carrying on this next week. We have everything to lose. We don't have nothing to lose. We have everything to lose because we are now setting this kind of golden standard. We are now at the top of the top, and we can't make any mistakes. Otherwise, people are going to manipulate that. We are the one team on people's radar that they're going to be watching on so many different occasions that we can't slip up at any point in time.
Yeah, they are our wild card for the beginning of the season, and they've really shown us what they're about and what the team's doing very well. And overall, these guys have been absolutely insane. Let's talk about the roadmap for tonight because we've got an interesting one indeed. We're going to be starting off in Berlin Hardpoint, search and destroy on Tuscan, and we will stay on Tuscan for control. Then we'll head over to the mixiness that it is Bocage Hardpoint. And lastly, we will return back to Berlin for our search and destroy. I personally think it's going to be an interesting one once we get to map 2 and 3. What about you, Mick?
I think, quite honestly, I mean, it just all comes down to who wins the search and destroy. The first one. I mean, you get Tuscan, you get that home ground advantage. You know, you feel out the map a little bit more. You sit there and already feel a tendency for where these players are going to be working themselves. I mean, whether it comes down to control or search and destroy, you still only have so many lives to work with. So, I mean, you're going to see players matching these tendencies, having these muscle memories come out. Say, okay, well, this person likes playing in this area of the map. This person likes playing in this area of the map. On attack and defense, you're going to get those feel outs regardless. And honestly, whoever wins that first search and destroy can say, all right, well, now we can move it over. We can translate all that intelligence and move it to the next one into control. But Hardpoint Berlin, that's where the things are going to be somewhat of a twist up. But I think it's where you can look at the record and really cut there and establish something. I think GCU could take away this hardpoint on Berlin, knowing how slay heavy they are, knowing how outstanding they are with the rotations. Dude, I'm such a nerd when it comes around to sit there, color caster brain coming out for stuff like that. And when you see their setups for sites, when you see the way they move across the map, it's so extremely finished that it's just so nice to look at.
Yeah, it's going to be definitely an interesting one. And so I can't wait to, hear what you have to say as we get more into the series. I personally think that it's going to be a bit of a bloodbath here for either side because, you catch someone on a bad day, well, that's one thing, but it's also another thing to outslay and outplay someone. And like you said, if one team's got that better setups and the much more dominant session in this game night tonight, hey, if you're studying VOD, you're going to know. But if you're not, then you might be going into this unprepared.
Yeah, and even then, I mean, discussing being unprepared, it's not something that's really an option at this stage in the game, especially when we're looking at, us being in stage 2 now. We got playoffs coming up here soon after spring break. I mean, there is a lot to sit there and unfold for all these teams that this is now the point in the time where you can't mess up at all. Whether or not you're looking to go ahead and climb the ranks, whether or not you're trying to knock things down, it all comes down to how low can you knock somebody else. It's not how high can I get. I mean, you got your undefeated teams here at the top regardless. You can't really climb past a certain point. You're just praying that so many teams start losing at this stage that you create that much better of a chance for yourself. And that's all it dwindles down to. GCU, if they lose here tonight, not the biggest deal in the world, but it's definitely going to be somewhat of a shock factor for everybody. And that's why they're looking to defend themselves. They're saying, look, we are sitting comfy where we are. We're praying the top 2 do lose their games. But for us, we need to make sure to defend our title and keep steady where we are.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting one overall, and I believe we're still waiting on these players to get the lobby going, so I believe we're going to a break. We'll have to see you guys in just a short minute. We'll get back once the players are ready. Might have been a bit of a problem with the lobby, so we'll see you in just a sec. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're bringing you straight to the action. Had a little bit of a break. Some checks were going in, but hey, everything's all good and ready to go. Let's break it down as we hop into this first hard point in this first set of rotations. And, well, you're going to see Texas State have a good hold so far, but some trade-offs coming into the hill.
Yeah, already to a lot of aggression from both sides, looking to go ahead and get some time on the clock, and that's exactly what they're trying to go ahead and accumulate. And Texas State being a little bit more successful thus far. Already going ahead, getting themselves 12 seconds on the board, going ahead and push them a little bit more, but now the contestation comes through, and Grand Canyon and now has 2 players just stacking on top of it as well. But with the wraparound, with Texas State going ahead and getting themselves somewhat of kind of a circular motion around the side, they're almost like sharks in the water, but they never get the chance to bite.
Indeed, indeed, and well, you're going to see right now, Chloe's going to have a bit of a view towards the back lane here, towards the right side But you've got Jam, fortunately, throws his life away. But hey, information has been given. Kenji notices. And hey, the Volk's coming out here, Mick. I appreciate that. You know, some changes in the meta.
I think, honestly, a lot of these Grand Canyon players have been using the Volk here for a while, and I think it's honestly one of the most slept-on weapons in the game thus far, and hey, really, it's nice to see a change of pace, quite honestly, to see some fresh guns be coming out and showing that they can actually fight with the big dogs. But from my fight with the big dogs, Texas State able to step up and grab themselves a tie game once again with 40 seconds remaining on the clock. You see that the spawns are kind of not really too favorable for the side of Grand Canyon, trying to make themselves a slow, methodical approach on the side as they go ahead and grab a kill on every single player on the way there. But the one kind of halt, I would say, there would be Pandemic, who does eventually get shut down by Salvage. So everybody else storming on now, 25 seconds remaining, and a pretty efficient hold here.
Indeed it was. You saw Draco getting a lot of that early time, which was very nice, but you are going to see Grand Canyon will break it for the last piece of it. Pandemic looking into the site, not going to be able to find anybody, but hey, the rotation needs to happen here, and well, you already see two players from the side of Grand Canyon that have a pretty good setup here. I know you talked a little bit about setups here before, Mick, and well, right now it's looking really good.
Most definitely is. I mean, already, GCU going ahead, having complete control of that backside of the map while still holding on to the side as well. Surely you got two men kind of as that wall. So, I mean, Texas State can go ahead and break themselves in and make sure to get some work done on this GCU side. But still, the hold still comes out. They still have themselves positioning. You still have the players pushing up now. Once you get to this stage of the game, you have Salvage kind of pushing up there towards the back. Looking to line up on that window, give his teammates the support. But can he get the read on Pandemic there towards the back? He's coming on the flank. Every single member now of GCU able to stack onto the side, grab the kills, and Pandemic falls as well. So that entire flank now going to waste.
Yeah, sometimes the long wrap doesn't exactly pan out the way you want. Klo, nice pick off from the side and picks off the second. He's on a streak right now, a fourth streak to be exact. Script's not going to want to challenge that window. He will go for the contest, but hey, when you turn your back on an enemy, well, expect some spikes to be thrown back at you, and that's Klo. Now on a 5, and Pandemic's holding the top position towards train yard. But there you go, Kenji once again making moves with the Volk in hand. Pandemic's now on the back, and some shots going to go in, but Texas State will hold for now. But these players on the side of Grand Canyon are a bit spread out, a little bit too much for pleasure. But hey, in the beginning of every hill, there's a bit of a forming stage.
Yeah, just massive plays here from the side of Texas State to go ahead and create some relevancy here, and especially on this P4. It's a massive site because you will always find yourself a pretty sufficient hold. Knowing how close these spawns are makes it extremely hard for you to really lose your momentum, really lose your place on that site. But if you can make the break, and if you're the team that can really make sure to manage to get onto that site, you know that you're that much stronger. I mean, you're almost an immovable object versus an unstoppable force. So it all comes down to whether or not we can see GCU get themselves onto the site, really go ahead and set up for it. But with only 14 seconds remaining, I don't think they're going to go ahead and buy it.
No, indeed, and, well, you're going to see a bit of a 4-man setup here. You want to be able to get every piece off of this hill. As we head towards P5, you know, we're not going to be traveling too much. Kenji, very nicely done on a 3 streak, gets the 2 off hill, gets 1 towards the back, and, well, now you're going to be sitting pretty comfortably here on this P5, but not too comfortable, as this is a contest hill overall. So you're going to see Script start to rush up, not going to get taken that one, and, well, it's all about picking your fights right now, man.
Yeah, most definitely does. I mean, already, and we see, I mean, just some of these players need to start selecting their fights. I mean, we saw it earlier. Tactic was sitting at 1 and 6, but now we got, I mean, James sitting at 3 and 10 thus far. Kind of, I would say, a little sleep at the wheel, but maybe this just isn't their ballpark. Well, whose it is definitely Kenji's, and everybody else is able to go ahead and grab so many kills this far, sitting at 16 and 9. Grabbing so many picks in quick succession there, and able to just go ahead and fall through the map, absolutely slaying anybody who gets in his way.
And, you know, I talked about it being a contest hill. Well, Grand Canyon, they get the most out of this hill. Then the slaying has been absolutely insane. They're literally, the kill boards are just lighting up purple. You're going to see Salvis here having a bit of a fight for spawns, but oh my goodness, what was the ring around the rosies there? Unfortunately, you know, you had to have Kenji and Klo help out there, but overall, Grand Canyon get another 4 down, and P1 for this second set of rotations is already in charge of the side of Grand Canyon.
Yeah, I mean, just great setups here for the side of both of them, but still, Grand Canyon have the advantage to be working off of. They look to go ahead and grab them shots whenever they can, and they know that if players on the outside, this could be Pandemic and Tactic, creating a cross as well. I mean, everybody on Texas State surrounding, but Klo with a huge flank onto the back, able to get some good damage off of the rest of the team to follow through. A clean wipe for the side of Grand King, and Tactic, it's going to be the last one to stay, but he's also the first one to die there. So, you know, you grab yourself a complete site right now. Just keep on holding strong, because Texas State, if they don't rotate here, they're just crazy.
Yeah, the rotation is going to be a bit of a tough one when you have number 4, Kenji, already on the flank. And he's got full streaks as well. So that'll be an interesting one. I know we're having a bit of a GA for the strafing run, but a glide bomb nonetheless will be a great addition. Draco now taking the forward position, does not want to be hill man no more. Like I talked about earlier, Mick, he's a very good slayer. You got to get him on a forward attacking position.
Yeah, I mean, they have to go to this attacking side. They have to get the aggression coming out. But quite honestly, it's super hard to do when you see Grand Canyon almost playing super methodical, just kind of dicing in the team, looking to get themselves some more presence on site. Almost they finally get that break, you sit there and realize that there's no real cross. Once you do get that intel, though, Pandemic is now on site. He's right upstairs. He's not going to be making a move just yet, waiting for kind of a player to get on site. Nobody's been there yet. When you finally get the intel, he's already hopped over, can't really get your eyes on him, and the rest of Texas State is now plugged in as well. So a huge play here for Texas State to go ahead and get themselves some time on the board, but there's only 17 seconds left on the clock. You can't really capitalize on this, but Kenji can capitalize by getting himself a double.
Yeah, gets a double, stops the hill for a second, but Texas State will stay up. Selvas, very nicely done. Just, you know, adds a salt to the injury there. You know, hey, 5 seconds left. I still want that. That's my time. He's going to have a bit of a fight with Draco. Stops that position now. Forces these players to move in through the docks. And Tactic's going to have some trouble here with the back of players. James just absolutely going off now. Breaking a 200-point threshold. That's Grand Canyon.
Yeah, just massive plays here for the side of Grand Canyon, obviously, with the kind of score differential they've already set there and brought out. Knowing they've hit that 200 threshold first. And that's just completely just blindsiding the side of Texas State, saying that now we can win off one side. And if you give us a hold, you give us one money hill to really capitalize on, we can close up this game. So now the pressure's being put on. You have to get yourself 80 to tie things up. Now make it 90, and then on top of that, get yourself the extra 50. And when we're already picking up time, sitting at 17 seconds left on this now on this hill, the rotation's going to come here through soon, and you can't sit there and be working for scraps anymore.
Yeah, you really can, and, well, the last 10 seconds look like Grand Canyon will have it for now. Pandemic rushes the hill. Fortunately, checks the wrong angle. It's so many angles within that site. You know, you got to pick one, pick your poison, and unfortunately, he was taking the deadly one. Now, James in enemy territory, looks around for these players, but Tactics is going to be rushing on the site, and once again, you challenge the wrong angle, and you lose. And Chloe, oh my gosh, he's going crazy. And that's going to be giving you the map 1. No players are able to get towards the site. Grand Canyon dominantly do great this map 1.
I mean, only to be expected out of the people that sat there and slayed the likes of Ottawa last week. I mean, every single motor there is going to have to be super refined. And to almost make look Texas State, your number 13 team right now, look almost, I would say, amateur to some extent. I mean, when their slaying power is there on all fronts, and you still beat them by such a large margin of 130 points, almost put them in the 100-point club in a matchup like this. That's just, I'm left speechless off something like that.
I mean, you kind of called it a bit in the pregame, Mick. You said that, you know, we'd see some great setups from Grand Canyon. We'd see a lot of, you know, players coming in big. And, well, looking at the stats here, that's Kenji and Chloe. 22-11 and 24-15. 19 non-traded kills for both players, and they went absolutely insane. We didn't even need to see that glide bomb coming in from Kenji. But overall, it was just a great game for the side of Grand Canyon. Texas State, while it looked like they were going toe for toe, you know, blow for blow here at the beginning part of this map, overall, they were not able to keep up with the stamina on the side of Grand Canyon.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of gas here in the tank for the side of Grand Canyon, and quite honestly, they seem like they come out with a full tank. As high as gas prices are right now, they can still afford it and still make sure they can give themselves enough to go on an entire road trip, at least for an entire series. I mean, regardless of what it goes down to. Last week, having a reverse sweep, making all 5 maps and still coming out on top. Now, this week, starting strong, saying, look, we can't give ourselves that leniency anymore. We sit there, we have a new standard to go ahead and abide by. We don't need to lose any maps at all. We need our record to look as darn good as it can. And something like this, grabbing that first map and knowing you're going into Tuscan for the S&D and having the advantage off of that, that's a pretty good way to go ahead and get yourself in there.
Exactly, and usually what I say when we get into these first maps of Hardpoint, you know, if it's a map like Bocage, I usually favor the opposing team when it comes to, you know, the S&D, but with a map like Berlin, where it's more methodical, you have to get rotations, things need to get done on the map, there's a lot of prerequisites, and Grand Canyon, they were checking off each and every box. So I'm excited to see how they're going to be doing on this Tuscan, because Tuscan's a little bit, more of a fair map when it comes to this map pool that we play on currently for competitive. And I'm going to be interested to see if Texas State, maybe are a little bit slower in the teamwork. Maybe they are a much more methodical team when it comes to the S&D, or will we just see Grand Canyon just keep drowning them in their efforts?
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest question to be answered of whether or not is Texas State really just going to start drowning, or will they finally go ahead and get themselves some air and then kind of make some work away with it? Can they get out from the depths of the ocean and make their way onto shore where they can actually get some work done? And honestly, that's a big swing to be making for them. But I mean, against the likes, it's not impossible, I'll say. S&D is definitely that mode where you can kind of make that work because you got all the time in the world really given to you until that plant goes down. But even then, knowing these two squads, if you don't either don't stop the plant and find that initial kill, especially onto that player getting that plant with your utility like your nade or whatever, or if you don't sit there and make sure to get that setup where you sit there and have an instantaneous retake where you speed up the game, because especially on Tuscan, a lot of these teams are going to say, oh, let's just rush the A-bomb, get the plant down within 2 seconds, and then see how we can speed run this.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one indeed, the fast plant method. Honestly, I've been seeing a lot of teams now within the CCL going for B, so that would be an interesting one overall if we can maybe see some fast plants towards B. But I think the problem with A versus B is that with B, you have a lot of more prerequisites to check, a lot of areas to make sure that there are no players. And you can get through, yeah, fine and dandy, but there's usually a player towards that top church. And when you have a player there or hanging out towards radio and watching the cut in Tuscan, you're setting yourself up for failure. But enough about the prerequisites. Let's hop in. Tuscan now on our destination for these next 2 maps. I know you talked about it a little bit before, Mick. You want to get going here. You want to see which team's going to take it because, hey, at the end of the day, it's a home bias. You want whoever's going to be able to win first on this one.
Yeah, and whoever really wins this one out, I said it earlier, you'll most likely grab the control too, because you sit there and you know you've got the advantage. You've won both sides of the field, because otherwise it's going to go right to that map 11. Or not map 11, excuse me, round 11. And if he does go to that round 11, I could say control would be pretty, I would say even, probably. But if we sit there and see a wipe on one side or the other, they will have themselves an advantage. I mean, just clear and defined, and they will make the most of it. Even then, right off the get-go, Pandemic with a great shot on the Genji to go ahead and get the opening pick. Had the sniper in hand, just couldn't finesse too much. And even on the outside, another exchange coming through is we finally see Grand King get that first kill, but it's taken him 2 deaths before we really get there.
Yeah, and you're going to look on the back. That's going to be Scripps, who's currently watching the back lane here. So Selviz will be able to possibly find one of these players, but Draco, he is hanging out towards this top plat. So Selviz is going to find him, shoots the shots, not going to be able to kill. So it's a 2v3 still, and well, the beatdown comes in from Selviz, now makes it a 2v2.
Yeah, so an even exchange here, able to go ahead and even up the odds, but still, you got to get that bomb down. You got to make a play across the map, and we just haven't seen that yet. Salvage just grabbed that shot up to top church. I'm going to grab that kill. Now we can do a 1v1. It's all up to Chloe and Pandemic, the guy who started it on this round, able to find that first shot, but can't make the last one. As Grand King and win themselves that first round, being on that side of the defense, and go ahead and have themselves a pretty good start.
Yeah, that was very nice from Chloe indeed. Not only was he setting himself up for success, you have a teammate that's able to help you. You stay within close proximity of each other. That's something we usually never see it here. His teammates just staying together, making sure that they play off of each other's info. A lot of times players are isolated and they end up giving a free ISO kill. But, when you go up against Grand Canyon, well, you can't play any sort of, bad tricks.
Yeah, and the one thing I was thinking that was a little more surprising is seeing a defensive win right off the get-go for the start. I mean, we always see attack usually win, and we'll look for a defensive win somewhere down the road. But, to go ahead and open it up with it here, and open up with 2 kills from Draco and Tactic, able to go ahead and make sure they had themselves a 4v2 going on right now. Definitely not impossible, knowing that Grand King can sit there and finesse some kills here and there. It's definitely slowed down the pace, but I think that almost kind of works in the favor of Grand King, and they like the game to slow down unless you have Tactic there on the outside, able to go ahead and get that one exchange. Now 1v3 all down to Selvis.
Yep, and you're going to see very nicely done. It's a 3v1. Texas State are up, but Selvis is going to get pinched, and there you go. Pandemic get them their first round. Very nicely done. It looked as though Grand Canyon were going to start using that momentum to their favor. But when you had Draco and Tactic right off the rip, get some good kills, hey, that's going to help out overall when it comes to that round of bleed. But we're now at round 3, and it's safe to say we're at a true neutral.
Yeah, we most definitely are. I mean, even exchange of defensive rounds for both of these sides. And Grand Canyons was a little bit more slower. It was a little bit more down to that clutch scenario, but Texas State, theirs was definitely a lot more, I'd say, dominant in that regard. Able to go ahead and find themselves all the kills, really go ahead and get themselves an advantage off the get-go. But talking about advantage, nobody's really found one just yet, except for the bomb going down this A site where nobody's really pushing. No nade to really find that kill. Scripps goes ahead and gets the plant, and even then, James is pushing right at the middle of the map to find any kind of positioning. But Kenji, with the kill on the tactic, you now make it a 4v3.
And that was absolutely insane because you saw that player, James, just trying to stay up, did not want to push because he knew that player was hiding in mid. So you do get the bomb down. There's 26 seconds left, but Kenji's actually going to try and stick the bomb defuse. Scripps, he's stuck by himself. He's going to get pinched. And the last player goes down by Chloe. And 17 seconds, there's plenty of time to get this defused. So you are going to have Grand Canyon win this round. But it did look a little bleak at the beginning with the early plant. But when you take out that player mid, boy, that opens up a lot of breathing room in the map.
It most definitely does, and even then what Grand Canyon did there, going ahead, baiting the defuse, saying, I got 3 teammates surrounding this guy. If I sit there and get killed from middle, they either cross up on him and they have 3 players to defend that plant. Or if we sit there and he's right towards the middle, we're expected to have a pinch being they already had 2 players playing towards the middle of the map. Why would you triple stack that? He's probably right around there in Fountain towards the edge of the map and then sit there. We can enclose him knowing that we have presence everywhere else and we just completely surround this guy. And that's exactly what they did. You knew they had a game plan ready. You knew they had all the boxes checked off, as you mentioned prior. And also, that's going to call for a play towards B this time. If we can check off those boxes, let's do it again. Let's push B, but let's not check our corners.
My
Scripps goes off for 2.
That's just insane, Scripps. You got to check the corners, fellas, on the side of Grand Canyon, but it's a 2v3. This is not an unfamiliar situation, especially for Chloe and James. So I'm a little bit confident in these boys, but Pandemic, Tactic, and Draco will be your players for the side of Texas State that are up, and Tactic's got the angle. He's going to get taken down, though. Now a 2v2. 50 seconds left, and Pandemic cannot finish the kill. He's not a closer.
Well, he's most definitely not, but you got to sit there and expect that he can step up right here, right now, because it's now one-on-one. Draco's the last inning alive for the side of Old Texas State, and Chloe on the last one for Grand Canyon. Looking to wrap around the middle of the map and grab that bomb, knowing where it's going to be because Draco doesn't really have that intel. He was play towards the back, push towards spawn. Make sure to have a bigger picture to be looking at thus far. And with that A plant going down right now, you're just waiting for some kind of move. And there it is. Draco now says, okay, I know the play's right there on the A bomb. He's going to be setting up somewhere around it. Do I check middle? Do I check church? Well, you got to check bottom church first. And if you're not Chloe, you better sit there and be checking that bomb and having a little bit more of an aggressive angle to get the tail. But you don't have the right gun out. You had the pistol and you were switching over. And in the meantime, you get shot down. So now that's another round win here for Texas State. Defense for defense, back and forth, something you don't typically see.
Yeah, and you really have to highlight right there, if Draco sticks the bomb, he would get taken out 10 times out of 10. But then you see the gun switch. And yeah, you know, the Rat is a great gun, you know, great gun overall. But in those scenarios, you're feeling much more comfortable and hitting those shots with the Automaton. So, hey, Texas State win off of a mistake there, but that's good enough because now they bring it back to a 2-2. Each round's going back and forth, and well, now, you know, I sound like a broken record, Mick. We're back at another true neutral.
Yeah, we most simply are. And I mean, that's kind of the exciting thing about it. I said there, mentioned it earlier. If we get into round 11, things would definitely be even for the control. But as it seems right now, we're at least even in kills as both sides grab themselves one. Penn looking for the shots there on the outside towards the A-bomb to grab that kill, but can't exactly manage everything. But Chloe does manage that. Grabs the kill into Jaco, so now making it a 3v2. You know that Grand Canyon looking to set up to get themselves another defensive win here.
Yeah, another defensive win with the numbers 3-2, and well, Chloe's gonna be hanging out towards top radio. Thinks of players near him. There's not one, but there is 2 behind him. Tactic's gonna be heading up to church. Looks into radio, not gonna be able to find that player just yet, and he actually checks his corners, so he will take out Chloe. Now it's a 2v2, but these players on the side of Grand Canyon, they pick up the bomb, and they're sticking next to each other. This is great proximity. Pandemic and Tactic are not near each other. These are isolated kills. You're going to see some shots, and once again, Pandemic closed the kill.
Yeah, huge setup so far. You already see now the 2v2, and the attacking side has to get this bomb down. That's a big problem thus far. Texas State doesn't really have the positioning for it, and I mean, Grand Canyon almost has an inch of where it could be, but they don't really care too much. They know that if they play together, anything can be possible. So they're looking to wrap around, get themselves a little bit more presence toward the middle to make that play off each other, but they didn't check the bomb. They sat there, looked for a split second. They're rushing over to B, thinking that the players are there, and Texas State, you know, is working on the side of the map. when that's not the case at all. They're right back towards A, and you get some high ground, but I mean, with the bomb getting down, you could have found that pick earlier.
Yeah, and with no tacticals on either side of Grand Canyon, they're not going to be able to stun check anything or even throw out a nade for a possible corner. Pandemic's going to be hiding on bomb, waiting for this player, and oh my goodness, he gives up his position. Selvas, he gives the information to James, and they pinch him, but Tactic, last man, 16 seconds left. He's going to get the first shots, gets the kill, and the defuse, well, it's not going to be going in. Selvas able to get the kill, gets it at 8.5, and gets the defuse.
Massive work here for Grand Canyon. I mean, already we kind of expected to win this defense, but that was before the numbers got evened up, and we saw the plant go down as well. And once again, an answer. You go ahead, defense. Surprisingly enough, I never thought I'd be saying this, but it all comes down to which side really wants to go ahead and grab this first attacking round. That's all it dwindles down to. And I think, quite honestly, I mean, we're done with the feeling stages. This isn't kind of in the stage of the game anymore where you sit there, you're in the early area, you're getting a feel for where the defaults are, where these players like to go ahead and be working themselves and allocate all their guys out and about. This is now kind of in the later stage of the game. You were 2 rounds off from that match point. You were more than halfway through the entirety of these rounds that you had to figure something out now.
Yeah, this is the time to get it going indeed, and Selva's going to be watching this mid. Pandemic will be the player hiding towards top church with an MP40. An interesting play in my opinion, but he will go down to the bottom level. Takes the battle to a more horizontal stage. Kenji notices 2 players trying to get the flank. And goal scripts. He's going to go big there, gets the bomb planner, and Kenji picks up tactic as well. Draco, last man alive here in this right side of the room, but you do have one more player towards mid, and Draco's going to get the Kenji off angle, so now it's a 2v2.
Yep, big plays already. I mean, looking to go ahead and get some kind of more momentum on the map, but that's Grand Canyon. They're looking to push towards at least the site, and they're trying to wrap around a B, but, I mean, May Clo could have the perfect setup onto these guys if they can just go ahead and shoot the shots and make it a 2v1, but he just never pulls the trigger. It's calm and steady, waiting for the right time to strike, but just can't really manage anything. Knows that they didn't cross towards middle, wants to go up into church, but still says, all right, well, they're moving over to A now. I don't have Selvas to back me up, but if he can rope around and we have the setup for the post plant, we can just set up for these crosses. Find a comfy little angle, make sure to catch him by surprise, and then go ahead and dwindle down those numbers.
Yeah, and the way Clo's set up right now, he can easily get both these players. They are lined up together, and, well, Pandemic's going to be able to help out, and nice team shots there. Selva's now last man, 29 seconds. You just need to play the time here. You do not need to get overzealous. He's going to be playing towards top plat. Draco's going to be pinching in from the back, and, well, this is a classic situation, and Draco's going to move up. He finds the player, takes him out, and there you go. Plenty of time to get the bomb down.
Yeah, once again, defensive round win, and even that all came down to whether or not you get the right angles off, and there were so many occasions to where we saw, I mean, right there towards the middle of the map where Kelvis had the angle, sat there and saw the players, wanted to take the shots, but just said, you know what, I want this free plan instead. I want to be working with my teammate. I don't want to sit there and sacrifice this 1v1 where he has to go ahead and get himself back to the bomb when I don't have Selvas to be working off of me. So, I mean, not the best situation there, but you do what you can with it. The poach plant, when you go ahead and have all those angles where you sit there, you look for a second. It's that classic COD timing. The moment you look away, that's right when somebody wants to show up into that crossfire that you just had set up. So now Texas State is looking for that first attacking side win as well, because that's the biggest differential to look for. Grand Canyon will go ahead and continue the kind of pattern we've seen thus far.
Yeah, and right now you're going to see Draco trying to get some shots towards the top of church. Clo's going to get a nice nade. That's going to stop the bomb planner. Very nicely executed. Tactic's going to be hiding towards the back here into the alleyway. And, well, he does notice one player gets the opening shots. And now the information's been given, but Tactic's able to get that one as well. You know, 2v2 and a minute left, and the bomb is down on A. So the moment you hear that announcer give the call out, you're going to immediately know where this player is.
Yeah, and Tactic putting in a huge heavy lift, at least in this round alone, already getting all those shots towards the middle of the map, able to grab 2 clean kills with the Automaton and still looking for third, or just getting intel for his teammates to be working with, because then they have to get that bomb down. They have to push it, and knowing that they're still probably going to be present towards top church, that's a big problem to really go ahead and dish out some damage to. So you finally get that plant down, you start looking for it, and the last 2 players are going to be old Clo and James towards the back in their spawn, looking to say, well, how can we answer this? We'll get a little bit of a crossfire there, and we know that the A's now open. Where's that last player? Tactic. He was killing the guys earlier right there towards mid. Let's see if we can get a flank on him.
When Tactic recognizes this, he's one player rush in, able to get him, but you're going to see it's a big chase. It's a ballroom blitz, and the Automaton wins in the range. Tactic, they get that round, now taking a second round in a row, finally breaking the curse.
Yeah, this is a massive, massive round here for the likes of Texas State to turn things up to say, look, now we finally won it. And it was all off the hands of Tactic. That guy got every single kill in that round. I mean, what more could you ask for? Able to go ahead and get on that 3 spree. I mean, go ahead, getting all the damage done to really necessitate that entirety there. You have to sit there and get the guy creds. And to know that he's now partway through to get possibly what could be a streak here later on, it's a lot to ask for, but when he whips out the sniper, it all comes down to a one-shot kill right off the get-go, picking off Glow.
That's nasty. Tactic's been on a ringer since last round. He's on a 4 streak currently, and Script's going to be able to stop James, and now Selvas responds with a kill of his own, but Selvas is ready for that second chow. Now in a 2v2, Kenji's running away. Vulcan handed. Pandemic's to be able to find him off the rotation. Now Selvas in a 1v2. Bomb is down at A. He's going to need to work these kills methodically and slowly because these Texas State players, while they are up, do not know how to play together in proximity when it comes to these type of chows.
Yeah, so 1v2, I mean, Selvas definitely has the potential to go ahead and really clutch this thing out, but he's got to go ahead and check the entirety of mid. He has already completely skipped over a player. I mean, he'd had no attention given over to side of Pandemic there, who's literally sitting in the middle of the map. And then towards the edge, you've got Draco just going ahead and setting him on the bomb. They're looking for this crossfire. They're expecting him to come from middle. And, I mean, that's exactly what they're doing. He's playing right into their hands, sneaks in, and Texas State, they now take themselves a 5th, getting them into that match point.
Who would have thought we'd be in this point in time, but hey, Texas State have had that much better positioning when it comes to these kills, and it's going to pay off in the long run, and clearly at a match point now. I'm going to be expecting maybe Grand Canyon to play a little bit more slower than what we've seen. We've been seeing them go a little bit going breakneck speeds here. But overall, I think in the terms of the slaying power, you got to give it to Tactic, who really turned it around.
Yeah, I mean, most definitely did. I mean, able to go ahead and clutch at the last round, saying, look, after this, we just follow suit, boys. We just have to win this one attacking round, and even if it comes down to a clutch. And Grand Canyon is kind of asking for the same thing. Thing is, they have to go ahead and settle down, so we can't allow this attacking thing to happen once more. We have to double down here. We have to find the answer. When you finally don't manage those shots here, but you do get the cross of the follow-up from Scripps there, a massive recovery there for him. Just go ahead and say, look, we can't make the mess up like this. He goes ahead and doubles down, finds that kill. Torch Top Church as well can drop off and say, look, now we have the bomb site for free. Just absolutely wipes up the likes of Grand Canyon thus far. Chloe, the last man standing, can't pull it out. And Texas State get themselves a map win.
Very nicely done indeed. 6-3 overall, and well, Grand Canyon are going to have to take a bit of a look at the whiteboard there for the next map here on Tuscan, because we will be heading into a control. But looking into the stats right now, yeah, you got to give it to Tactics. None other than himself, because he's 9-7, went on a 4 streak there with 5 non-traded kills. His killing in that round 7 really turned it around for the team. Like he said, follow suit, win the attack, and just play it through. And they did just that. Grand Canyon, though, while having some pretty good stats themselves, Chloe and Selvas, and just doing the duo work there. James and Kenji, unfortunately, were in the iron sights of the side of Texas State, so they were often dying first.
Yeah, and that's kind of a huge problem for Grand Canyon here. I mean, they were kind of over pushing. They didn't know really what was going to be brought to the table, and that's kind of one of the big advantage that Texas State took away from this, saying they don't really like pushing too hard. They like going ahead, setting up the game for themselves. They like checking off all the boxes when they find themselves around when it's very, very dominant. But as we really go ahead and play out the game a little bit more, Texas State finally realized that maybe brute force could be the option here. We get one sniper set up, make sure he can just drop it instantaneously, get that first kill, and past that point, it just does not matter. So an outstanding look here from Texas State to go ahead and make the return, get themselves a little bit more relevancy in this series. And I mean, when we see the setup, at least now going into that control Tuscan, things are going to be a little bit more wishy-washy, because now that we get ourselves a series tie, and now we have to go to that control. Then we have to guarantee that hard point where we saw Grand Canyon just look so darn good. I think, honestly, that they're using that almost as kind of a backwater now, saying that we know we have to go there. Let's just go ahead and get this control, get the hard point. We can call it there, because when it comes around to having an objective that you have to stand on, we've seen Grand Canyon definitely do a better job in that regard.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one overall as we head into this Tuscan, but we're going to be taking a short break, ladies and gentlemen. We will catch you all in just a second. Don't go anywhere, because we'll be live in just a moment with Map 3 Tuscan Control. Welcome back. I did say it was going to be a short break, did I not? We're now ready to go. And map 3, these players are ready to go. They told us, hey, casters, start the game. Let's talk about the roadmap real quick while we can, because we casters, we press that start button at the end of the day. Remember that, ladies and gentlemen. But looking at it for now, we are guaranteed a game for tonight. We're going to be going to Hardpoint Bocage after this Control and Tuscan. And hey, if we get a win from either side here, we'll definitely have to see if they can take that Bocage, because if not, then we'll be heading over to that Game 5 on Berlin for Search and Destroy. Mick, tell me how you're feeling overall about this.
Feeling pretty good, man. Honestly, I'm liking the competition. I'm liking the drive here, the spirit from both these squads. And even then, I mean, not an over-dominant performance when it came around to the S&D, but still, I mean, Control, Tuscan, this is going to be a huge testament to the skill of both these squads and whether or not we can actually see an attack being pulled out here, because every single time we see a lot of attacking rounds going to the side of each of these teams when it comes around to Search and Destroy every single time. But here on Search and Destroy on Tuscan today, between these two squads, it was a lot of defense. And I mean, Tuscan, is it going to be that switch up? Is it going to be that kind of flipping the tables again? Are we going to see nothing but attacking rounds here when it comes to Control? Well, I'll go ahead and spoil that. No. But as fun as that would be to see, we're not exactly going to get that opportunity. I feel like it's going to be the same old, same old. We're going to see ourselves a lot, and I mean a lot of just defensive round wins. But finally, when we do get that wild card, it's going to all come to that life differential, because we didn't get to see it possibly in that last one. We're hoping that Activision didn't mess up too many things in that last patch to sit there and say that, okay, everything's still intact, and we're really going to go ahead and pan things out where these players still have their priorities straight.
Yeah, priorities straight indeed. And overall, I'm still waiting, Mick. I'm waiting for the ticks, you know?
I know you are, man.
Look, man, I'm a big Cold War fan. So, like, when I think of Control, I think of that. And the way we've been playing it right now, yeah, while it is a different game when it comes to getting these kills in the EKIA, but overall, I think a more objective-based Control is definitely a much more rewarding to a much more centered team and a much more rounded team than, say, just a team full of Slayers.
Yeah. And I think that kind of is a good point to be made. Obviously, you want to have more kind of priority towards the objective. You want to put more influence there, because, I mean, we see teams just sitting there saying at the end of the game when they're looking to fight for this overtime, people are just saying, let's start slaying out. Let's start pushing spawns. Let's start completely forgetting about the game so far, and let's just do what we got to do. When you switch things around and say, all right, now we need to be more objective based, it completely changes the pace of the game. And I think it's a lot more healthy pace of the game, if anything, when you sit there and say that the objective is the biggest mode, to where you can win by lives, but the players can also slow down. The one thing that can't slow down is that sight. That will always be there. That is a constant. That will not move unless Activision decides to say, look, we're going to throw out a new patch and change the spots of everything. Let's go ahead and make Control now hardpoint. Let's just change A and then now make it B and make it randomized. Whatever it may be, as it stands right now, it is always going to be in that same spot. You can expect it to be there, and I think there needs to be a lot more influence on it. And we just haven't seen too many teams really sit there and say, we need to work off this objective. We have to push it. We have to get there. So, I mean, still, I think, honestly, if anybody's going to get a lot of progress on both sides and maybe still not close things out, it would definitely be these two.
Yeah, and honestly, like, when we get towards those rounds where the attack has realized, hey, we can't get the objective, you just see, like, a good, like, 20 to 15 seconds of just standing there, just waiting in the spawns. And not that it's distasteful, but it's definitely a little bit of a snoozer, you know? You're like, all right, they're saving lives clearly, you know? They don't want to give it up for that round 5. And then the viewers just like, hey, you know, I've got water, I've got some popcorn, it's time to eat it, I guess, you know. This is the snack break, if you will.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, nobody sits there. Even the players would like to appreciate a break every now and then. I mean, going ahead, getting the time to just settle down during the match, but still, you're here to play. You want to get the things over with, and when you have to sit there and stall, say if you are slaying out, say if you're doing a pretty darn good job, or even say if you go ahead and have a little bit of a slip up, maybe 2 players die, and then you just can never really get that trade to really make sure to even things out, really get yourself that advantage again. You're saying, well, we felt so good killing people, and now we're having to completely stall ourselves because of the way this is set up. So I think, honestly, we're going to probably see a little bit of that here today, if I'm being quite honest with you. But, I mean, all things said and considered, I don't think we'll see it as much as what we see out of other teams. Knowing how these two, they're overly confident of each other. They all think they are the best in the game. And with them all being in the top 25, that's to be expected. but it comes down to whether or not they really want to sit there and use that ego for something good, or whether or not it really comes to bite them in the rear at the end of the day.
Yeah, and overall, when it comes to these ranked teams, they're ranked for a reason. There are so many teams within the CCL that want a gun for those rankings. And when you have Grand Canyon that's sitting comfortably at number 3, and then you have Texas State that's at number 12, remember, it's the top 25. So
yeah.
they're not only past that half-point margin, but they're doing pretty well for themselves. While Texas State is a little bit more closer towards that half-point margin, towards the latter end of our rankings. But when you have Grand Canyon, who's in the top 3 with the likes of Bay State, you know, you gotta tip the hat to them, you know?
Yeah, you most definitely do. And I mean, looking at that, I mean, talking about Bay State, this is kind of the one mode where a lot of people are kind of feeling lackluster. They're not really getting that advantage, and you definitely want to make sure that if you're trying to go ahead and stand to the likes of these higher ranking teams, you want to save as many maps as possible. You don't want to give up anything at all, because that's what it comes down to, is the map count. After you sit there and see yourself on that entire series and that entire record, just in the season overall. You go ahead, you go to plenty of map 5s, and you sit there and win a lot of, and you lose as much as you win, but you still go ahead and get the overall win. It's not nearly as impressive as just saying, you know what, we just 3-0. I mean, it doesn't matter at that point. So even then, already losing S&D, here it is, we Grand Canyon, so always a tiny little bit of I'd say a stint in a bruise in their record, but not the biggest to be tripping about. If they could just go ahead and turn things around right now, get themselves an extra hard point to turn things up for them on that regard. Now then they're going to go to that map 4. But control is the one thing that's going to be a constant. You only get one of these a game, so you've got to make them count.
Yeah, and this is the time to make a statement. With it being 1-1 right now, this is really where it's going to come down. The statement needs to be made. Remember, we're going to be heading to Bocage for our 4th map, and if we're just talking in terms of slaying, I'm definitely looking at Grand Canyon in terms of the respawn slaying. Yeah, Texas State had a great search and destroy, but you got to remember, search and destroy is 1 life, 1 count, you know? It's a little bit more methodical. That's where you see teams shine or teams really do bad, and that's why it's like I told you before, Mick, in the pregame where we were talking. Sometimes teams do really good on the hard point, and then they flop on the S&D, but talking about the hard point now, or actually respawn, let's hop into this control.
Yep, let's go ahead and get right into it and see where we can sit there and move ourselves towards. And even then, a huge push already onto this B-side for the side of Grand Canyon. Looking to go ahead and accumulate some time there. They already have a double stack onto it. Looking to go ahead and get themselves that first tick if possible. But, I mean, all things considered, they got to sit there and move a little bit faster. They know that they haven't exactly gotten this first tick, but they have found the kill to make sure they can guarantee it. As Salvas is absolutely going off. I'm going to go ahead and grab himself 2 kills thus far. Looking to get a little bit more as Kenji and the rest of the squad is not even worried about this A side. They know that B's a little bit tougher to grab, so they want to go ahead and grab that first. They've already gotten the entirety of it and gotten themselves 2 minutes and 13 seconds to work with to get that next one.
Yeah, man, it's going to be pretty amazing right here when you see that the B site was taken first, because that makes a much easier task. And I've talked about this before in the other stream yesterday, but when your teams focus that B first, while it may be a risky one, it definitely gives a attack round a much more hope and makes it more feasible. And right now you're going to see Selvis holding the back line here, waiting for any players to kind of rotate out, but Kenji's going to be hopping on. Tactics still watching the mid. Nicely done. Gets a 2-piece. And there you go. A little 3-for-1 trade, and Texas State are going to stay alive right now.
Yeah, and looking at the way they're exchanging lives right now, I mean, you can't really push yourself up into spawn anymore. B is a much bigger detour to go ahead and opt for, and even if you push to the middle of the map, you're going to run into Draco. He's already going to find that kill onto the likes of Kenji. Make sure to get back that up with the rest of the squad and know that he has that backup there. But looking and talking about the squad, they're also going to be stacking on top of the A site. Make sure to diminish whatever progress is done there. Then if you're going to get this A site, you have to get the entirety of it in one go. If you can do it on B, you can do it on A, right? Well, go ahead, buddy. Come on to site and at least give it a shot.
Indeed, and, well, you're going to have this fight towards mid. Script's not ready for James, and it's 15-15 in terms of the life count. A minute left here, and Tag's going to get one. Gets the second. They line up for him, and there goes the third. He gets it done. Now that's a 4 down. They push these players back towards the site, and Tactics just going off. Automaton, but Clo's going to stop that one. 8-14 now, 48 seconds, and, well, all these players from Grand Canyon have been corralled.
Yeah, they most definitely have. I mean, especially after such a strong start to completely take it over to the B side, almost flawlessly, having a 4-life lead as well. I mean, you can see that. I mean, they have no regards to their life right now. They're pushing up, they're double swinging, saying, sure, we only got one more respawn, but That means we have nothing to lose. Let's go ahead and push it up. What's the difference of 4 more kills if we can go ahead and grab ourselves a site, get some of their deaths off as well, and then grab the entirety of A with it? I mean, as they're capitalizing, it has been nothing but purple on the kill feed thus far. And even on being on site, Pandemic finally finds one, but they're losing the clock. They're losing the site at the same time. Getting that first tick is counting up. Is now sticking at half as you see the congestion come through, and Draco trying to look for the kill, but Pandemic wipes out 2. We see Draco get the 3rd, but with that last player standing, they've done an outstanding job of trying to even things as much as they can, but Texas State pulling out on this defensive for the first.
Yeah, and once again, you have to shout out Tactic. Those plays to get the players off of the movement towards A, and then just force them back. And then you see Draco holding the left lane as well towards B. It was a classic pinch, and, you know, big applause for the side of Texas State. I thought Grand Canyon was going to come out here swinging and just absolutely dominate that first round, but while they did get that B, overall, it's been an interesting one for them, and you're going to see right here a big fight towards mid, and, well, there's going to be a bit of a trade-off, and Kenji's going to win that one, but Draco will have the last word.
Yeah, even exchanges are right there for both sides. Able to go ahead and make it 28-28 now, but still, you see Texas State able to go ahead and get some time on the clock towards that A side. Looking to make sure they can get themselves at least that first tick, and there it comes out for them as Pandemic also grabs a kill. They're trying to sit there and see if they can make it set up. They're not really pushing towards B at all. They're looking for some mid influence, and that was the likes of old Draco, who did get shut down there, now sitting at 12-7. But Scripps playing more of a point man thus far. Not able to survive for too long, but still, it doesn't matter when you sit there and see that they've gotten the entirety of A now. So no problems there. They just have to rotate and do the same thing on B, which is going to be a much tougher task than the likes of what they did, knowing it's that much further.
Yeah, indeed, and all you're going to see right now, looking at it, Draco's going to be trying to fight here, and gets one, looks for the second, and you're going to see right here, this movement towards mid has been such a bit of a tough one when you have James and Co. hanging out towards that top radio. As much as you want to climb up, he's going to look in the corner, and Scripps wins that one. Very nice. I did talk about the difficulty of it, but to Scripps, it's no problem.
Yeah, most definitely is able to go ahead and push to the middle of the map and get that influence there. I mean, you got to carry that onto a site, though. You have to accumulate the time with it, and quite honestly, Texas State looking pretty optimal to do something like that. Knowing that Grand Canyon isn't pushing up like they need to, not getting the influence on site, they do finally find the kills to make sure to open up that space for them to push and retaliate back and make sure that B take isn't taken all the way up. So, I mean, you go ahead, see that kind of progress diminishing a little bit. You see Kenji set up right there, bottom church, thinking, okay, a player's eventually going to push us. Nobody's there on site. Play this slow and steady. See what kills you can manage there. The stun comes around the edge, but not really too much to be working with. Kenji, you got to hold that, buddy, and he finds himself one, and Chloe gets another as well. So now 2 more kills, now making it 19, 16 lives as they try to push up a little some, but still, no progress on B, so they're not too beat up about it.
And you also got to remember, Texas State are up in terms of the slaying when it comes to that round 5. So right now, they're playing a little bit more slower because they don't want to give too many lives while they're trying to advance on. And we talked a little bit about that before. Tactic stops the push over here towards B. Gets a nice one. Not going to let these players get towards their spawn and do any unnecessary damage that he was able to replicate last round. So now Tactic's going to be by himself. He's waiting for his teammates here. He's going to be looking at Kenji, but Kenji wins that one.
Yeah, most definitely does. And even then, 15-13 in the live still. And I mean, we see Grand Canyon still trying to hold things out, just sticking on top of that B site instead of trying to play around it. But that's a problem because that opens up the spawns for Pandemic to make a flank. Able to manage 2 already and Scripps to back them up as well. You can make sure to push onto that site knowing that you have 28 seconds left. You can't wipe right now because if you do and you don't do it in some kind of a funnel way with the 1-1-1-1, you're going to sit there and get completely flushed out back to your spawn. And that's the last thing you need with 24 seconds left on the clock. So still, kills coming up for Grand Canyon. They do find that wipe that they needed so desperately, and they make it down to 20 seconds. And with only 9 lives remaining for Texas State, it's only a 1 life differential. So even if they do end up losing this, it's not the biggest scratch in the books for them, but still, they'll make sure they can grab that life differential. Even better will be an advantage.
Indeed, and right now it's 9-8, and like I told you before, really it's just playing slow here, but you're going to have a bit of a 2-for-1, though, and Grand Canyon now put up 1 on the board. Mick, I got to ask you, how are you feeling about the defenses that we saw right now from both sides?
I'm feeling pretty confident, quite honestly. I mean, they're looking pretty good. I would say that Texas State's a little bit better to hold down that A site and really manage a site that's that much more confrontational, but I mean, for Grand Canyon to still go ahead and bring things back and knowing that, I mean, once you get back to your tried and true, you have to go ahead and defend that B site. You can give up A kind of free and still make work of what you need. You're not really stressing on the board at all. I mean, I feel like the lives are almost at somewhat of an even state that whoever can really step things up in the live count now, find these kills and really just go ahead and frag out, they can guarantee themselves at overtime.
Yeah, overtime indeed, and fight's gonna be going on here. Kenji wins one. Tactic able to pick up the trade. Chloe now responding in kind, and Pandemic, this is a classic little trade-off, 1-for-1s here, and Pandemic's gonna be trying to fight towards the back. Does not want to get oversell as Draco, though, will. He does get one, but will get taken out. So now you're gonna have this progression at A. Tactic, once again, stops the A push, makes it happen. But James is gonna be the one player to stay up, so Pandemic will be the one to contest him. Gets taken out by Selvas, and there you go. They are able to take the A site. A bit of a change in the move that we saw last time, and James just slides on, gets Tactic, stops the streak.
Yeah, huge way to go ahead and shut down that streak. Go ahead and create a lot more space for the rest of the squad to say, look, now we don't have to worry about that coming out. We don't have to get killed from the sky with something that we can't really shoot. But one thing you can shoot is these bodies, and they're going to be stacking towards this B side, trying to make a play there as they've already grabbed the entirety of A. With a minute 49 remaining and a life advantage to be working with as well, Grand Canyon are a lot more set up this time around, but they have to sit there and know really how to come up with this approach. They're trying to get this intel, trying to get reads of where the players are at, and they know that the tactic's probably there in the back, and he most definitely is. Selvas finds that kill, can push up into spawn, but Panic and Scripts can go and also trade the thing out. So with the kill feed lighting up white, Texas State can find a wipe, reset these players back into their spawn, knowing that B's going to be safe a little bit longer.
Yeah, it's lighting up white on the side of Texas State. Very nicely done. Tactic's going to be watching mid right now. And he does notice the back line, that there are players making this play into this side. He's not going to be able to get it, but he does know that Scripps is back here. This could be a classic pinch for them. And, well, Tactic's going to be playing a little bit slower. This is a great setup for a player. Tactic's going to get taken down. Scripps looking into the back, gets one. The other two notice that there's a player now. They're going to slide on, but, hey, Pandemic comes in for the aid, and there you go. Tactic, Scripps, and Pandemic work together, get it done. Kenji being the last man here. He's going to try and fight Tactic, but Chloe will get that kill for him.
Yeah, so many even exchanges here for the most part, besides the tie that, Texas State are up 3 thus far. And knowing they're still in this defense, they know that they're in a pretty comfy sitting. Draco's just looking to get these streaks to capitalize on, but he instantaneously gets shut down there from the likes of old Selvas. And knowing they're going ahead and just shutting this down, they're trying to play it slow now. Grand Canyon know that this overtime is looking a heck of a lot more doable, and the last thing they need to do is have themselves a life deficit. So they're trying to run, play as aggressive as they can, and meanwhile, where you got a little bit of a goose chase going on there for the side of Pandemic and finally manages that, Grand Canyon has finessed 3 more kills to make it look that much more doable. Problem is, it's still 8-12. Texas State still finding all these necessary kills and still making it look pretty darn doable for them, making sure that it's a 1-for-1-for-1-for-1. Speaking of ones, there's 1 second left on the clock, and that's going to be Texas State winning this next round as well.
Yeah, Texas State are still up, I believe, even after that last defense from the side of Grand Canyon in terms of the kills. So as long as they don't botch any kills here in the attack and really just focus on doing what they can best, they're going to win that round 5 defense.
Yep. I completely agree. That's the biggest problem right here is Grand Canyon. This is their last kind of rally to really go ahead and make a statement. Get themselves that defensive round when it comes around to the overtime, and they have to do it in a pretty dominant fashion. They have to find so many kills to go ahead whenever they find that quick aggression onto A, because once you go ahead and let these players move on to B, things get a lot more hectic, I would say, because people are going for spawns, people are going for flanks, people are going through the middle of the map, trying to find alternate avenues. Go ahead and brute force them on A. Find so many kills that it doesn't even matter. By the time you make the trade and the exchange on the side, Texas State, they have a team shot. So they do get themselves on the B, but it's not going to matter that much. You only find 1 tick of on A. You're really just making a split, not really getting enough done. But even then, that tick actually wasn't filled because Grand Canyon's going and diminishing that as well.
Yeah, 27-27 right now. Lives are at a neutral. And, well, Selvas is very nicely done. Slides onto Scripps, picks up the MP40. Now he's ready to chop close quarters, and very nicely done. The movement on point. Doesn't want to give up anything yet. I think he might know that these players are starting to wrap around him. So Draco's going to look up, and, well, Draco knows that he's below him. He sees the ping on the map, gets one, looks for the second, and he gets them both. There you go, that Slayer Draco making it happen. 24-18, and, well, Grand Canyon are going to stop the tick progression here for a second at B, and now A is the focus of our next push here.
And quite honestly, I think a pretty good read here for the side of old Grand Canyon is to give Texas State this site, quite honestly. You know, you let that clock diminish a little bit, and if you go ahead and close out the round right now, sure, you win that defense round, but you don't have the life differential to really set up for next. So you're trying to go ahead and mow down as many players as possible, saying, go ahead, take that site, do what you have to do. If you sit there and keep pushing up, we will keep slowing you down. We sit there now, made it a 5 life advantage. They're trying to go ahead and, I'd say probably 10 would be a comfortable number to really sit at, but with 30 seconds left on the clock, I think Texas State is just getting the read, saying if we keep on killing right here, and even if we lose this round, we know we get defense guaranteed.
Yeah, and very smart play right there out of Scripps. He notices that there's two players. Fortunately, Trigger Discipline not there for that kill. But, hey, overall, it was a bit of a smart play. You see, too, I'm not going to take that chow. I'm going to play towards more close quarters in my sphere of comfort. And, well, Close going to be trying to close the distance here in terms of the kills. I think it's getting very close at this point. We've had a bit of some good rounds where it wasn't close, but right now with 6 lives being the differential, Draco and Co, they can't be overzealous now.
Most definitely can. I mean, they have to sit there and really work for some even exchanges that actually have a bigger picture to them, have some reasoning behind it, because we haven't seen too much of that, at least in this round, with how well that Texas State has been performing thus far. So now as they go ahead and get this church control, see if they can make themselves some plays and really make this life differential that much easy. They do make it now 4, so it's not that big a deal anymore. It's looking a lot more kind of manageable, I would say. Problem is, you still haven't gotten any progress on that B side. You're not worried about it. Your lives have diminished now down to 8. If Grand King can just hold on to these lives, use that point as some kind of leverage, or at least get aggressive towards the spawn, they know that Texas State won't push to the stage of the game.
Exactly. They don't want to get too overzealous, and Script's going to be hanging out towards top radio. Pandemic waiting for these players to try and come in and put a bit of a dagger in the mentality, and well, Script's going to still keep going off. 16 seconds left. James is going to be hiding up top, and, you know, once again, we're at this point, Mick, where nobody wants to give anything up.
Just that same old calm in the storm. And
yep,
that's kind of a really bad point here for Grand Canyon, because I think they will manage to go ahead and get themselves the attacking side once again on this overtime. Because with the life differential coming through, they only found themselves 6. I would be extremely surprised if they didn't. Once again, it kind of comes down to those ticks where you're just like, man, it just slows down. Everybody just sits there and does absolutely nothing, knowing they have themselves the advantage. And yep, Grand Canyon be on this attacking side. Texas State get the defense. This is a huge round for them to really step things up, knowing that they can sit there and have the series lead, not just a tie right here, right now.
Yeah, and well, you're going to see right now the fight towards A has begun, and Texas State on the defense, very nicely done. Our math checks out, thank goodness. You know, sometimes our caster math gets a little mixy, but Draco's going to be opening with the first kill there. Tactic tries to get the flank, not going to happen. Pandemic getting taken out as well. Tries to 4-stack here. That's Grand Canyon. Selva's going to be playing towards the back line. And, well, Draco's going to try and make a Superman play here. Gets one, looks for the second, going to get taken down. Once again, Grand Canyon are up, and this dominance in that first site is going to need to carry over for B.
It most definitely will, but I mean, problem is it's dominance in terms of time and able to go ahead and collect a lot of that. But I mean, not too much in the kills department. His kills are still basically even. It's only 1 life differential, so it's not anything you could ask for. I mean, sure, you could keep trading 1 for 1 for 1, but I mean, looking at the way the game's gone thus far, we haven't seen that probably at all. I mean, we've seen nothing but actual advantages going to one side or the other. And Tactic, once again, is going to be set up towards the back, towards these spawns, looking to double swing with his teammate, and Draco able to go ahead and manage 2 there. So once again, evening up the odds. It's going to be Scripps pushing up as well into that church, getting a double of his own. So huge plays here for the side of Ola, Texas State, to get themselves some pressure towards the middle of the map, because they want to go ahead and kind of get somewhat of a lock towards these spawns and create that speed bump that I keep on mentioning so much. But Grand Canyon, I'm really making too much of a move towards B. They are working for these spawns right now. Every single player is pushing towards the middle of the map, trying to just really overwhelm Tactic in the back. But Draco going ahead and having a flank of his own.
Yeah, well, Draco's going to be heading here towards the bottom, and Pandemic tries to get a kill, but he's going to get drowned out by these players. James, very nicely done, gets a 2. Draco now hiding towards the side here in Alley. They know where this player is, and, well, it's going to be none other than Chloe, who's hanging out towards top. Broken that gets that kill. Tactic now in the back here. There's a bit of a 2-stack coming in, and the fight's going on for the hill. It's a ballroom blitz, but Selvas and James will win. Tactic last man left here to try and stop them, and he's going to get taken down as well.
Pretty good exchanges here for Grand Canyon. You sit there, Draco with the double kill, able to go ahead and necessitate some a little bit more, I'd say, breathing room here for the rest of the squad. As he does get himself a 4K, completely wipes out the side of old Grand Canyon, saying, go back to your spawn and try again, buddy, because not today. But, I mean, with the rest of the squad there to go ahead and back things up, they know they're going to have to retry. This is something they have 2 ticks of progress and 48 seconds remaining. Lives are now tied. This is definitely doable for them to go ahead and get this map.
Oh, very much so. This is within the realm of possibility 100%. Kenji, nicely done, gets the kill. Draco now gonna get taken down. Pandemic being the last man left. Everybody spawning up towards that P1 side. That's not gonna be good, but no worries for Pandemic. Gets the 2-piece. Now, Selvis hanging out, waiting for these players. He cannot get overzealous here. He needs his teammates. This is their last push, essentially.
Most definitely is. I mean, this is a rally. You sit there, have 11 lives. You have to sit there and make sure these exchanges are coming through pretty fairly and pretty evenly. And even right there already, Scripps with a massive setup saying, okay, let me close these doors, get some privacy, because I know somebody's going to try and barge in. I'll punish them for it. Thing is, you got to punish the site right now. If you're Grand Canyon, you got to push up, and you do get a little bit of leeway. A second left on the clock. You go and get a corner that time, but it's still contested. Nobody's there. Scripps tactic trying to move in. Everyone on Grand Canyon is wiping things out. 8 now remaining to 5 lives. And Grand Canyon managed a miracle and pull out this map for themselves.
In the last 2 seconds, that is a big play. Not only to just stay down, he gets the kill as well on Draco. If Draco doesn't go down there, it's over. They stopped them. But no, Grand Canyon out of nowhere take that. That's insane. Looking at these
all it
stats
comes down
now.
to.
I
mean, that's all it really sits there and comes down to. Whether or not you can sit there. That's why we need the tick system. Is instead of these kind of little stalls right there towards the end, we need these last-second pushes. You need to fight for every last second on the clock because, I mean, overtime is the only time we get to it. We had so many slow little stalls there to go ahead and finally come down to this conclusion that we had a long road to get here, and that none of it really matters till overtime is just absurd. But when you finally get these opportunities, when you see that you have to force these teams to fight for that objective, whether it comes down to stacking on the side, playing for congestion, just to stall that clock, you made the system the way it is for a reason, and that right there is why we see it really panning out in this direction.
Yeah, and well, looking at these stats right now, Texas State did pretty well, but overall, Grand Canyon took it in the long run, and now Grand Canyon's going to go up 2-1. I really thought Texas State had that one. I thought we were going to see maybe a 3-1 victory for the side of Texas State, but I'm a little worried. I really am a little worried as we head into this Bocage hardpoint, because not only is it going to get mixy, and the AR work from Tactic might be subliminal. It may not even be present. He might pull out a MP40.
Yeah, and I really wouldn't blame him to do something like that, because knowing that we're kind of staying on Tuscan in some regards and just kind of going now on to Bocage. I mean, that's where things get a little bit hectic. You know that, okay, this is where things get problematic now. You know, the game's going to go one way or another, and you need to sit there in Bocage. We usually see teams going for a triple setup on the MP40s, quite honestly. And even then, we don't even have to see the MP40 now. These two teams have both employed the Volk, and that's something we don't really see too often out of all these other squads that they haven't really sat there and utilized yet. We can sit there and get a full, I would say, submachine gun team, still with some diversity in its own respect, which would be super interesting to see.
Yeah, and talking about interesting, let's look at the roadmap for tonight, because we might possibly have, this might possibly be our last map here if Grand Canyon keep it up. But yeah, we're going to be heading into this Bocage hardpoint. Berlin is still in the air. We do not know if we will be heading over there. We will definitely have to see after this 4th map, but with the way that, you know, Grand Canyon played there, I'm worried that Texas State might have checked themselves out, or maybe that's just the fire they needed to light under themselves to get that hard point and take it to the map 5.
I think that was definitely more of a rally there from Grand Canyon than Texas State feeling lackluster. I mean, we sat there and saw the way they played that search and destroy. We saw the fight and the fire in themselves to really just go ahead and maintain that lead when it came around to that control. I mean, they're not giving things up by any means necessary. I just feel like Grand Canyon, they know they're the better squad, and they have to highlight that. They can't go ahead and give this up. I sat there and mentioned it earlier. This is such late stages in the game that every single map matters, and if they lose this, sure, they're down 1-2 at that point, but they can't afford that now. This is not a point stage in the game, like I said, on Control especially, where you know that map is a one map that you don't, or mode that you don't get a second chance on. You can't screw that up.
Yeah, you really can't. You got to do it as it comes in, and I'm just speechless right now. I'm still speechless after that Control, and as we head into this Bocage hardpoint now, it's looking like we're gonna have, you know, hey, I'm angry too if I'm Texas State right now, so I'm pulling off the gloves, and this is the perfect map for it. I'm going straight fisticuffs, no more cushion on those hammers. So I want to see some nice clean fights, and getting down and dirty at the same time.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you. And even then, hard point on Bocage, that's the kind of arena that where you can exactly do that. It's going to be constant kills, constant back and forth, constant contention on these sides, everything besides one, because no team really wants to touch this side. You've already seen Texas State go ahead and sweep through 3 times and grab a little bit there, but it all comes down to whether you can set up for these P2 spawns, and we haven't really seen too much influence on that because there's still 30 seconds remaining on the clock, and Grand Canyon, they're just holding strong and steady, knowing that they have themselves the right side.
Yeah, you see a bit of a fight here. Draco wins that one towards Zig, but he's going to notice that there might be a player in the back, and he gets him. That's great out of him, because not only is that a big fight, but, well, they're going to need to start moving in for spawns, and Draco's going to have some help from his teammate, but he will get taken down by Clo. So now Clo's going to be the lone defender here with his teammate now coming in, and, well, you lose a bit of this first hill, but it's time to get to the second, but Tactic lines him up.
That's a massive play there, because you can already see the time turning around. You see that like the Texas State now sitting at 27. This is a much bigger play for them. A pretty good lead, I'd say, to go ahead for these first 2 sides. And sure, it's early stages. We can't really get too crazy and ahead of ourselves. But, I mean, still, to know that a standing like this on P2, where we saw Grand Canyon have the spawns for P2 and still not really able to manage that time, it's a pretty big sacrifice that can't really be ignored.
No, it can't be ignored indeed. And, well, Grand Canyon will be able to get onto this hill after a break from Texas State. And if they do hold the rest of this hill, this will put them at a very nice distance to overtake the lead. But you're going to have a bit of a fight here. Draco not wanting to go into the dark just yet. James very nicely done, still holding the barn. But you got to notice that the rotation needs to happen now. But the players from Texas State are already on it. They're forward thinkers. They're ready to go.
Yeah, they most definitely are able to go ahead and get themselves a little bit more time on the clock, create themselves to 50. They're just going to be looking to capitalize on this. Find themselves some more time, get a little bit more on the clock, get the rotations to come through. But problem is, Grand Canyon's already going to be set up for next. I mean, to be expected out of the squad that sit there made this far looking to close things out. Thing is, they have to do, I would think, a little bit more knowing all the pressure that's being put down on the table right now. P3 is something that's super contested. It's one of those sites where you're like, okay, is there a single second where we can actually get time if we're not contesting 24/7, or the other side's doing the exact same thing and mirroring us? But we already see Grand Canyon, and we're going to get a couple seconds on the clock, and we're going to make things look that much more even and doable. And with 30 seconds remaining, if you can get the rest of this, you can define yourself even maybe a lead as well.
Yeah, and well, looks as though Grand Canyon will have the majority of this hill for now, but you are going to see a bit of a challenge. It is Bocage. The moment you get 4 down, they're going to be right back up, ready to spring on you. And, well, Jim's going to get taken down by Draco. Nice little fight there towards Zig, and now you're going to have this rotation here for this next hill towards Barn, but Pandemic, this is going to be a big one if he can win it, but he's going to get taken down by Selvis. He's still going strong here. Selvis, he's on a 12-4, on a 4 streak, gets 5. Or actually, the 4th was that kill, but the 5th one not going to come in just yet. And there you go. Grand Canyon slay out and get a hold of the hill for now.
Yeah, to hold the hill, that's all they really need is to go ahead and get some more time, knowing that there's 50 seconds remaining, and this hill just came up. There's not really too much to lose, not too much pressure down just yet. Even then, if you're especially Grand Canyon with a little bit of a lead, it's about 20 seconds. You have some time, some breathing room to get yourself a setup, figure out what exactly is going on and how you can go ahead and make sure that this next siege is going to be successful in some regard. But I mean, knowing the Texas State, they only had themselves 2 players alive, and the resets and the spawns are on the opposite side of the map. You got plenty of time to do whatever you need to. So I don't think time is really too much of a concern. Just capitalize on it. Grab the rest of this, and then make sure your lead goes that much further.
Yeah, you need to catapult yourself as much as possible here on Bocage because it can get mixy. It can get down to the time clock even, but Kenji's going to be hanging out towards bottom tunnels here. Not going to be able to get anyone just yet. Gets the flank on, but he does notice that there might be more players here in the spawn, but he gives his back, and now he's going to be in a tough position. Waits for some teammates to come in, and once again finds another player off angle. Still staying up. This Kenji guy is just insane.
He most definitely is. I mean, Kenji's been probably the highlight player from Grand Canyon this entire time. As many times as Selvin has had these kind of 1vx scenarios where he's kind of definitely made sure to manage something for the rest of the squad whenever the respawns come up. Right now, he's definitely standing out, at least in regards on this hard point. I mean, sitting at 17-5, going ahead, absolutely just mowing through the opposition, able to go ahead and give his team a 40-second lead in terms of that clock, and able to go ahead and hit that 100-point threshold first. That's a big advantage to be working with right now. You just want to go ahead and run away with the game because, I mean, Rome said it prior in that last matchup. So once you go ahead and see that first rotation, it's kind of a feeling area. You don't see too many teams really have a lead. It's back and forth, back and forth. But still, 30 points by the end of P1, or excuse me, that first reset, when you see these teams finally going ahead and running away with the game on that second rotation, I mean, that just makes your job that much easier to know that you can close it out that much quicker.
Indeed, and well, you're going to see right now, Tactic and Co., they have a pretty decent held in the back line. They want to keep spawns from P1 to P2, and you got to tip it, honestly, like he said, you want to make sure that you can run away with it in the second set of rotations, but Salvez is going to be currently being that Reaper in the back line, making things a little bit more difficult for the side of Texas State. Jam's going to be trying to get a fight here towards mid, and once again, this P1 is a contest hill. If you can get any time at all, that's going to be a blessing and a half.
Yeah, so I mean, the way they're already setting up for this, you can see that pretty nice lineup there from Salvez on the edge, just trying to find whatever he can. None of these players are probably going to line up coming from that spawn. I mean, the other options can be right there from the right, but I mean, nobody's going to really check that. One thing you do have to check, though, is these spawns, knowing that P2 is going to be coming up here soon. A lot of pressure to be thrown down. Grand Canyon already having the kind of optimal spawns for this next setup. They want to make sure to have kind of the advantage. They want to have the high ground. They want to set up towards barn as well. Problem is, you already got Draco set up on the bottom floor. You got Salvez not really able to get through the middle of the map to set up with the rest of his team, but it doesn't matter when you got Kenji there with a double. So a huge setup here. You got to get your teammates on that site, but nobody's really touching the clock just yet until Grand King can finally go ahead and get a taste.
Yeah, Grand Canyon were able to fight for the spawns. They got that one very nicely done. Salvez is going to stay on the site. Utility in full form. Going to be coming in here. Pandemic waiting for this player to get a little overzealous, but Salvez will back off. Smart play. Does not want to sacrifice the spawns for the overall time, because when you do have spawns, you're able to respond back much better. Pandemic fights the site. Draco's going to help out. So they have the hill for now, but once again, the spawns being a big factor here, still not in the favor of Texas State.
Yep, just playing it slow and steady here, even on Mokaj. It's something we don't really see too much because, I mean, everything seems a little bit quiet. You see some contesting. You see that, I mean, the clock wasn't really touched for a little bit there, but finally Texas State get a taste of what this could offer for them. Knowing that they've sat there and created some major relevancy in this fight, Grand Canyon saying, look, we still have ourselves a lead, even including that scrap time. We need to set up for next. We need to make sure that P3 is within our favor, that it is within our grasp. We can grab as much of it as we need to go ahead and get themselves to a, I'd say about 170 by the end of this. Just to go ahead and say we need 2 more and we can go and close this thing out. Problem is, knowing that Texas State, they're just very, very shy behind. They're fighting to go ahead and get themselves a lead. And, I mean, that's all it comes down to is just comfortability. Who has this lead? Who can set up for next? Who can sit there and say, we don't have to stress on the site so long as we just set up for next? Knowing these spawns are such a huge factor to be worried about, and so is Texas State with those flying squirrels just shooting everybody. You need to make sure that you can set up for next. And honestly, that's not a luxury you get when you're behind.
Yeah, exactly. You're trying to play catch up while trying to think ahead, but Draco's going to get taken down. Chloe's going to have the hill for now. This bottom nanny's not really one that you want to give up too much, because hey, as we head over to the barn here, just a smaller proximity to try and get the rotation, and Draco's going to be moving in, and well, unfortunately gets taken down due to the auto mantle, and your IC Tactic already has a bit of a hold onto this new, but Kenji comes in. Very nicely done. Takes out Draco as well. Can he get the third? Well, you're going to see he immediately knows where these players are, but he's going to get taken out by Scripps.
Yep, and even exchange there. I mean, both sides looking to still get themselves some more, but it was even better for the side of Texas State. They're going ahead and get some more time on the clock, knowing that there's 40 seconds remaining here, and they are only 10 seconds shy of getting themselves a tie game. There's a lot on the line here right now. I mean, a P4 is a massive setup where a lot of people are like, oh, God, this is not where things should be going. I do not like this side at all. Meanwhile, it's the biggest one in the game, I feel, where you hit a complete 50-50, where everybody either hangs around right there on the kind of what would be the nub of the L, and then the other team just hanging out right there in the main area looking for some kind of a flank or trying to go ahead and set up for spawn, set up for next. And that's the biggest issue, is when you can set up for next. You know you have the high ground. You know that's going to be an uphill battle for the other side who's really just stuck inside that nub. They really just can't do too much. But Grand King, and not worried about what they can or can't do when they're just going ahead, and they are grabbing time. So with the next one coming through, you see P5 now coming up. You see the setups trying to come in for it, and players coming out tunnel, players coming over the top. Texas State's the first one to grab.
They are going to hold the hill for now, but Scripps is going to be in a tough position here as these players from Grand Canyon start to rotate in. Jericho's going to get taken out from mid, so Scripps will react upon that info, but Kenji, very nicely done, able to sneak around and even gets into the back of the hill, able to circumvent these power positions, make it look easy. Draco still spawning up with his team there, but Salvez is not going to give that one easily. And like we said, it's all about getting the time. While you are able to set up, Texas State are still playing catch-up here.
Yeah, and I know they'd probably be playing catch up here for a little bit, but still, it's not too much to be asking for. Knowing that Grand Canyon, though, has hit that 200-point threshold, that's the biggest checkpoint to really be thinking about. Knowing that you are now within one sight of closing out this game. Now you're within, I'd say, 2/3 of closing out the game with the next sight. Knowing that you sat there and got that 210. Knowing that now it's 40 comparative to 50. That's just a huge differential when sitting there considering how much time and how much scrap is always left at the rear end of every single spot.
Yeah, and while we head to this third set of rotations now, it's going to be a bit of a fight here towards the mid. Grand Canyon will win for now, but Pandemic's very nicely done. Still staying strong in the bottom nannies, but you gotta give it to Chloe, man. This guy's just been in those impact plays. His slang's up right now. Scripps gonna try and fight here towards Zig, but Genji comes in big, and Scripps is clueless, not able to find a player, and Chloe gets a nice two-piece, and there goes the third. He's on a 35-19 on an 8 streak of all things.
Yeah, massive plays here from Chloe, able to just go ahead, get all these kills, especially on B1. This is a site that nobody really accumulates too much time on. They go ahead and say it's a throwaway. Don't worry about it. Well, Grand Canyon saying this is our last. Texas State's going to be fighting for this. Last thing they want to do is just give us free time, and they know we're going to put them on the plate. We're going to have to make them swing and shoot their shot. But as everything's considered, now with P2 coming up, you're saying we only need 7. They need an entire 55. I mean, that's a much bigger ask for them. It's still doable within one site, but you have to hold it literally flawlessly. And with Chloe still having all these streaks to throw out at his disposal, you're not really worried about what's going on right now. You sit there, you grab yourself 5, 4, and even then with the contention to come through, you know some players are going to try to stand in the way, but at the end of the day, you just can't manage and stop the inevitable. So that's going to be Grand Canyon not only taking away this map, but also closing out the series as well.
Yeah, very nice 3-1. Grand Canyon came in clutch towards the end. And unfortunately, Texas State did not size up and it was a very close control, I will say that, but this hard point, once we got towards that third set, like you said, that P1, instead of it looking like trash, you know what they say, one man's trash is another man's treasure. And boy, was it treasure for Grand Canyon, because that catapulted themselves to winning distance that, hey, you know, they even had P2 spawns. So looking at these stats right now, you can immediately see Chloe, Kenji, and Selvas, and even James just going in big, 30+ for either side of this team. Like you called it perfectly, Mick, at the beginning. This team has Slayers in every account. One player's not popping off, it's going to go to the other side, and it's just going to keep rolling through. But Texas State, while they had a bit of a trouble, Draco still went off 35 and 33, but his teammates a little bit more of a troublesome play as each one was stuck at 21 kills.
Yeah, I mean, not really too much here from Texas State, at least in this hard point. They had themselves a much admirable attempt than what we saw prior. I mean, every single one of these hard points have gotten that much closer tonight. I mean, it's almost teams kind of playing off of each other, saying, I'm finally getting a grasp of what they're doing, but, I mean, we just can't react at this stage of the game. They're already leading us again. And, I mean, with Texas State going up against Grand Canyon's hardpoint, Grand Canyon's hardpoint is outstanding. I mean, we sat there and saw it in that first map. Now they doubled down, did it here. And it was that much closer, but, I mean, once you go ahead and you said, oh, we choked up the control, we could have had this leniency here. We could have sat there and messed up and now gone to the search and destroy. It shows that every little thing counts in a series, whether or not it's a round, whether or not it's an entire map. Obviously, everything from the small to the big, they open up opportunities that make the job that much easier over the big course of this and the much bigger picture at hand.
Yeah, the much bigger picture indeed. And talking about those players that were playing for that much bigger picture, you got to highlight Chloe. The man had over 2 minutes on the hill and was one of the top slayers. Like, come on, man, talk to me. The guy was going insane, Volk in hand, and was doing absolutely insane. Talking about his plays in the big picture, let's look at the roadmap that we had tonight, because it was an absolutely great night. A lot of great upsets here, but hey, overall, you know, Grand Canyon were our dominant players over in the majority. So we look at the hard point in Berlin, like you said, the hard point being their bread and butter, 250 to 129. Texas State were able to bring it back, though, in the search and destroy, 6-3 on Tuscan. And we stayed on Tuscan for control, and it really came down to the wire. And, well, the ticks were in favor of Grand Canyon. Then, lastly, we went to Bocage, where it got a bit mixy. It looked like it was going to be back and forth, and well, Grand Canyon in the third set of rotations brought us the dub, and now that was a 3-1. Texas State, unfortunately, will take the loss for now, and overall, it's been a great night so far, Mick.
Most definitely has. I mean, just great series overall. 2-3-1s now. I mean, obviously teams having the spirit knowing that this stage in the series, or at least in the entire season of CCL, that you have to stand up. You have to give something. We can't have 3-0s anymore. That's not acceptable. That people have gotten eliminated for a reason. That people aren't really in this stage for a reason. You need to sit there and show that you can bite back, even in some extent. And I think that's the biggest differential we're going to see over the course of the season is whether or not we can see teams really retaliate in a huge manner to really go ahead and breed things back. We saw Grand Canyon last week saying, you know what? We're tired of getting played around. When we're tired of getting bullied by Ottawa, reverse sweep. Screw it. Why not?
Yeah.
I mean, every team isn't going to be capable of doing that. And that's the reason why Grand Canyon is sitting at number 3. And with how the kind of only dropping a map here tonight, respective of how the other two teams that are above them perform, they could possibly move up. It's just every single map counts. And if they, especially on control, that's a big differential there when you sit there and say you only get one shot. Let's make it count. And that last round, those last couple seconds, man, that alone shows that they wanted it.
Yeah, they definitely wanted it, and that's why they're going to be the winners for tonight. Very nicely done to the boys on the side of Grand Canyon Esports from GCU. We're going to be heading into a break as we get ready for this third matchup. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be bringing you the action here pretty soon, and, well, we'll see you in just a bit.